I had to basically dig in my heels and think about how can I make something sustainable? And that's what I want you to consider as you're growing your business is how can you create a business structure that is sustainable? That's one of the wish I knew.
Hello, welcome to Monetizing Mompreneurs podcast, where I take you behind the scenes with industry leaders, entrepreneurs, moms, working professionals, and amazing people pursuing their passions and going for their dreams. And I'm your host, Linda Mendable.
Welcome, my biz bestie. Welcome to another episode of the Monetizing Mompreneur podcast. Okay, so my last mini-sode, I talked about basically having your goals, right? And your monetary goals and stuff like that. And I want to go more in depth because as I listen back to that episode, I'm like, man, Linda, you kind of left some things off the table. And I've had a few of you reach out to me about how to get started in your business. So this is a wish I knew. This is a wish I knew when I first started segment, seriously, because I didn't understand that I needed to have budgets. I needed to have strategies. I needed to have certain things in place. I just thought, well, business will come, right? As long as I stay visible, business is going to come. And that's really flying by the seat of your pants. And I don't want that for you. I really want you to kind of be confident in the moves that you're making as you build your online business. And so I started off, and I guess I'm going to start with where I first started as a blogger, transitioned to having a hobby of making handbags as a sole proprietorship. And then I was like, you know what? This doesn't make sense on me creating these handmade items and selling them for these lower price points. And especially with having kids, I had to figure out a way to basically create something that was worth my time that I can be creative in, right? Anyways, fast forward, I had to basically dig in my heels and think about how can I make something sustainable? And that's what I want you to consider as you're growing your business is how can you create a business structure that is sustainable? That's one of the wish I knew because really you're going to spend a lot of time dabbling when you're first started, but what if you don't have that time to dabble and you really need to make it work, right? Sometimes we're in the situations like, I really need this to work. Just a little FYI, you may hear my kids in the background. They're playing and having fun. I got 3 of them, and it's the weekend, and I'm recording these episodes on days that I have my little babies. And my husband is, chilling in the home. So we're golden. And I love that I can have them kind of like playing with one another. Like have 3 beautiful, beautiful babes. And I don't know, it's such a blessing. Okay. So wish I knew a sustainable business, having a sustainable business. And so what does that look like? And we're going to go into that. So I want you to listen to this episode when you have the time. Listen to it now if you're kind of like out and about and doing things. But I want you to come back and listen to this episode and grab a sheet of paper with me. I have a sheet of paper with me because I want to take you through the process. And this is if we were sitting down having coffee and you're like, hey, Linda, where do I start or how can I even scale? Shoot, let's get started with the wish I knew. Because I can't exactly tell you what you need to do. It's almost like you have to figure that out for yourself. But I can tell you from my experience on what I wish I knew in the beginning of my journey. In the beginning of my journey, there weren't a lot of people talking about like what I am going to be going over with you today. And you heard a lot about stories and you heard a lot about other people's stories or and you hear a lot of coaching sessions, right, on people who already have established businesses and all of that. But what about the wish I knew section, right? So I'm giving you the goods today, sis or sir, because sometimes we do have some male listeners. So hey, anyways, step 1, is I want you to kind of block out, I want you to have a plain sheet of paper and I want you to create around 4 to 6 boxes. Okay. And in these boxes, make them big enough that you can actually write within the box. Okay. And I want you to title building out your monetary goals. That's what I want you to do. I want you to title it building out your monetary goals because that's what we're going to be doing. And the step one, it's basically what I left off with the last episode is building out your monetary goals. So in order for us to actually build a business, what is business, right? It includes money and relationships, right? And so we have to realize how many relationships we have to make and how much income do we need to have coming into the business. And if you're in the beginning, you might be making a lot of investments first, and then later on, you will see the seeds that you've sown in those investments come to fruition depending on your approach. And so that's another wish I knew. And I don't want you kind of like stuck. Like, where do I go? Do I go to Kajabi? Do I go to, ClickFunnels? Listen, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like, I don't recommend those big platforms until you actually have done your market research, that you have a viable product that people want, and that maybe you're gonna be running ads to, and that you have a budget of like what $5 a day that you can put into running ads on top of your business expenses on keeping things running, right? You see, it's different levels. So let's start with the different levels. Level one, let's figure out your day rate, right? There's all these different courses on it. There's all these different examples. And basically, what I decided to do is just condense my services to be done in a quicker amount of time. And so you got to figure out in order for me so I can have free time, right? I have to develop courses, I have a membership, I have clients, and then I also have coaching clients, right? And so I had to decide, like, in the beginning, before any of this came into fruition, is like, what is it that I'm paying out each month to keep the business afloat? And what is it that's coming in each month, right? And right, I started as a blogger, transitioned into a web designer. Why? Because I have a web designer background and there was demand. Okay. And that's the thing, like for the services that you're going to be offering, or for maybe even the product, is there a demand? Is there a market for that? And if there is, then we can go to the next step on deciding on what tools that we need. And if you're creating an online business, I'm going to make it really, really simple. When I sit down with an entrepreneur and they're kind of like, doing everything from like people signing up to their form and they want to up level and they want to get a website, right? I don't recommend big platforms like Kajabi or all-in-one platforms. I don't recommend, you know why? Because there's different, you haven't understood yet the ebbs and flow of businesses, and life sometimes happens. And so you have to, it's almost like you got to prepare. You got to be a bit of a prepper within your business. And so I want you to put in the first box. I want you to put step one, monetary goals, okay? And then I want you to put under that day rate. We're gonna figure out and put a question mark on that. What's gonna be your day rate? And this is how I want you to figure that out. So now that you have that sheet of paper, I want you to get a calendar or a planner that has a calendar. And I want you to look at your business expenses, right? What comes out on what day and how much, and put that for each day, right? Like, so write down all of your bills, look at your bank account, and I pray to God that you have a separate bank account from your personal or from your joint with your husband, or however it is that you have your finances, have one strictly just for your business. What comes in, what goes out, that you understand, and connect that thing with QuickBooks. Seriously, it will save you in the end, let me tell you, especially with tax season. And so you can actually have everything like really good. So I use QuickBooks. I absolutely love it. So that's a business expense, around $30 currently right now, what I pay a month. So I have that as one of my business expenses. And I always update every quarter because every quarter something new is happening and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm going to tell you all the tools that I currently am using. Okay. So I'm using Loom. I am using Simplecast for my podcast, which I did not know that Spotify had a free version, but if you can get that free, I would absolutely recommend that. The reason why I use Loom is for my courses, and that's why, and screen recording. Sometimes, especially when I'm onboarding someone or if I'm working with a client, I screen record on how to do certain things. Okay, and then I do things right away. Like if something needs to be done, I do it right then and there. Um, Flowdesk, and I've been with Flowdesk for a while. I use Proof Source, which I love because, I can increase like authority, like, are you legit? Are people buying from you, right? And I like to increase that, right? I am currently in a membership for ads because one day I would like to do ads as I scale, right? I was in the research, right? I'm a service provider moving from a one-to-one model, going into the one-to-many model, right? And because I've grown a community and because I've done my market research, I understand, what my people want. And the great thing is I get emails from you all and I love them because it really helps me understand like how I can help you as well, right? And one of the biggest ones that I get currently from switching from how do I get clients is how do I even start a business? And this is for both newbies and seasoned because some of these things, it takes you a while to. Sometimes you don't understand why your business is not further ahead is because perhaps you haven't broken it down, and that's what we're doing. All right, Acuity, that's my scheduling tool. But I did invest in TidyCal, which I may switch over, still debating. Circle, and that's basically where our membership is at. Adobe, goodness, I try to cancel and they don't let me cancel. It's like they have like a weird cancellation. But anyway, sometimes I use Adobe, right? Especially when editing certain photos as a used to be brand photographer because I love doing photography. I have Adobe. I love Lightroom. Show It, QuickBooks, and ClickUp. That is and Canva, bomb.com, right? Anyway, so I'm just giving you kind of like some insights, right? And I know exactly when each of those bills gets withdrawn from my account. I know what week I have more bills being paid off than the next week. And I also have like yearly subscriptions like Elementor, Revolutionary Slider, and also Dubsado. And Dubsado is what I use for client management. And so, and I take those into consideration as well. The next, if you are more in the mid part of your business, what you want to also, because I do red, I put in the calendar all in red, and I do another calendar with it in green on my recurring income streams on what's coming in each month. Okay, so now I know my cash flow. Now, maybe you don't have cash flow right now, and that's all right, but this is the step one. Like, I have a money bootcamp course, and if you email me, I can give you access to it. So just email me. I may give you, there is like a small fee to access the course, but it is a course available to you if you need more on something like as a system, a monetary system. Anyways, I try to read the book of Profit First, and some things are really hard to put into practice, but let's just get you to where you know where your money will be, right? Number one, having a separate business account. Number two, having QuickBooks attached to that account. Having PayPal and Stripe. Some people kind of like don't know about PayPal, but let me tell you, have clients that have paid me via PayPal instead of Stripe. Some people prefer it. So what I like to say to people, and especially clients, hey, make it easy for people to pay you. Don't make them jump through hoops because they'll go somewhere else, right? So make it easy. So those are the tools. And then of course I have ThriveCart. And what? That was a lifetime deal, which I think ThriveCart still currently have not have any issues with ThriveCart. So I know that some people have kind of like reported issues with Thrivecart and said certain things and everything like that. But listen, currently Thrivecart is working very well for me. Another thing is what you want to also do once you have that, you want to add all that up, right? And you want to add up all those bills and you want to either divide it by 30 or divide it by 4. And then you know what basically comes out each day that you need to make to keep the business afloat, or each week, what you need to have come in, generally speaking, for your business to stay afloat, that you're not having to reinvest certain money in it, that basically you can always have cash reserves, right? Because there's some seasons and you'll get to know your seasons, and especially with people's like for whatever reason there's months that people buy more in some months than other months. And so understanding that, right? Okay, I want to also say that please take what makes sense to you. Okay, I'm just telling you like what I wish I knew. My mindset shifts when it comes to money and what I'm doing differently now, right? And the things that I've learned. Now you know your day rate in a sense of like where you don't want to go below. So once you have kind of like you understand like your daily amount that's actually what you need to keep your business afloat in a sense of like bottom dollar. On top of that, what you also want to do is kind of add what you want to take with you. And if you have any people on your team as well that you're paying, right? You also want to consider those and when you pay them. Okay, so now that you have that, in that step one, you have your two calendars, right? You have your profit and losses calendar pretty much, right? You know what's going out, you know what's coming in. And I'm going to make an example. Let's say you have a goal of having at least, and this can go for anyone, this can be like, let's say you have a goal for $10,000 a month, right? How can you even have that goal if you haven't even achieved a small, right? So why don't we start with the goal of having first staying afloat goal, right? Maybe, or maybe you do need to pay yourself $10,000, right? But baby, I don't know about everybody kind of like these talks about these huge launches and stuff like that, but I say baby steps. You know why? Because how do you know you're even going to build a business that you love? How about if you hate it, right? How about if you like doing this and doing this work, and then you start really getting clients and you're having all this on your plate and all this pressure on you? Is it making your life better? Like, is this pressure adding to your well-being, adding to your life, right? Because there is going to be pressure. And some people take that pressure well, and others not so much. And so I'm trying to get basically the least amount of pressure on your back for you to kind of like understand that, let's say you have achieved like a huge client. You got a client, and that client is a 10K client, right? Well, what are you going to do with that money, right? How would you know what to do with that money if you don't even understand what your high months are, what your low months are, how to save for a rainy day within your business, and all of that? That's one of my wish I knew. Just because you have clients coming in and you have a season that these clients are coming in back to back to back, and you're like, this is the way that business is going to stay because shoot, I'm killing the game, right? And then boom, because you haven't spent wisely your money, maybe you're buying this or you're buying that. Oh, you need that new tool, you need that new thing, you need XYZ. And then boom, you got a famine season, right? So I want you to consider kind of like keeping your business afloat and running and you paying yourself a good rate, accomplishing that and keeping it for several, like, several years, like 3 years, 2 years that you're doing that. And you can add on to that and add on to that, but having something that has some sustainability. I like sustainability, but I mean, if you want to fly by the seat of your pants, that's fine. That's fine. Hey, do you? Like, this is your business. You can make it look however you want. But if you're my bestie and you're one of my friends, I'm going to basically caution you on that. Like, hey, listen, put aside if you have a big cash flow coming in, save for that for the year. Like have a budget minimum that you need to keep in your account. And that's your yearly expenses for the business. And then anything on top of that truly is bonuses, right? So consider that. So step one, we got your profit and loss, kind of like, okay, what's going out and what's coming in. Then you also now understand your day rate. So this is how I understand a day rate. When you have an onboarding process, right? Like usually these VIP days do not last one day. You got an onboarding process, right? You're onboarding the person, that's one day. And then you're sitting down with them, talking about their wants and needs. That's 2 days. And then boom, 24-hour maybe turnaround, right? For a VIP day. That's 3 days. So what is one day for the client, perhaps, right? Because when they sit down with you and then you're telling them, hey, this is going to be done in X, Y, Z timeframe, it's actually more work on your end than it is on their end. They're only seeing kind of like, like certain pieces of the puzzle, and they don't understand the amount of work you do. Nor should they be interested because that's why they hired you, right? So your job as a service provider, if you're currently having, if that's the route that you're taking, is to make it really seamless and easy for them. And so now that we know, so I'm going to put just for kind of like, I know a lot of people tell me like they want to take around 3,000 to 5,000, right? And then one of them, like in order, like for really to have their business is 10,000. So let's break that down on a daily rate. So 3,000, I got my calculator out, 3,000 a month divided by 30, that's $100 a day. Okay. 5,000 is around 177. Is really a little bit less than that, but let's just say 177. And I'm gonna tell you why we're gonna do this too. And then 10K months, right? Divided by 30, and that's around, I would put 340, 340 a day. I've kind of like I like to round up. So whenever you're doing this, always round up. Whenever you're putting a goal or a budget, round up. Don't round down. You always, the only one that you round down is kind of like your projection of the income that's coming in or something like that. That's the only one that I would round down or keep exact. Now, if you want to make 3K months, you need at least $100 a day for 30 days. And you can either divide that by 4 so you understand that week, right? What you need to make that week, right? So let's say it's 3,000 and we divide that by 4, and that's 750 a week. So if you have a VIP day that you're thinking of putting together, and this is like 3,000, not for you taking in your pocket, this is also like minus, like if you want to make 3,000, add that, you know, that loss into your business and then go off of that. But for just to keep for simplicity purposes, we're going to keep this simple. So 750 a week. Let's say you want to do a VIP day and you want to work with a client a week or maybe a client a month. And, you know, for that week, if you work with that client, 750 covers you for that, like minimum covers you. If you have a $3,000 client, they cover you for practically the month, right? So consider your pricing on your day rates. Consider how long it takes you, the value of service or product, like market value, and does it have is it on demand, right? Can you sell this? So that's how you come up. That's like my way of coming up and how I come up with kind of like deciding on day rates. And then let's say someone comes in by a friend or something and they want friend prices. And sometimes we have those and you want to give a good friend price, and I get that, but don't ever let it deter you from not being able to stay. Like, don't let it ever take away from you. Like, boom, let's say if usually you charge 1K, for that week, right? And, and you've established that 750 minimally, then you can't go down below 750 on a project. That's kind of like you understand your boundaries within your business. Like, after that, you're kind of like, whoever is around you, whoever you're supporting, like your family and stuff like that, they're really eating into that. Kind of like, I don't know, kind of have that mental game going. So you can like, you're trying to help out, but people are depending on you as well. So you can only help out so much. It's almost like, so there's a great story in the Bible that I like to reflect on sometimes when it comes to situations of kind of like you want to help, but then you won't make it, right? It's almost like they talked about the virgins, right? There were 10 wise virgins and 10 not so wise virgins. And the not so wise didn't have enough oil to make it to the banquet. I think it's 5 or 10. I'm sorry if I don't have the Bible in front of me knowing the exact amount of, but I'm paraphrasing, okay? I'm paraphrasing for the sake of this. Anyways, they can't make it, and they asked the wise ones that actually saved up, and they asked them for their oil. They said, no, I can't give you my oil because I won't be able to make it to the banquet. And so that really taught me that, yeah, sometimes we want to be givers and we want to be helpers, but don't have it into the effect that you can't survive and make it to where you need to make it to, because people are depending on you to make it to the banquet, right? So I kind of want you to have that perspective when it comes to building out your business and understanding like what is your bottom dollar? And that's where I go into the bottom dollar part. Okay, so now we got our monetary goals and everything like that. So let's go to the next part. And the step 2 is kind of going into realistic timelines and schedule. So let's take it that you want to have, right, the 3K months, or let's go to the 5K months right now, right? In the middle, meet in the middle from 3 and the 10. So what I would do, I would put the 5,000. Of course, I would put on top of that 5,000 because that's what you want to walk away. You want to put into your bank account, right? Well, my monthly stuff is, but let's keep it at 5. Let's say it, boom, it magically is 5,000, right? I'm going to divide that by 4. And I know that I need to make around 1250 a week. I know, right? It's different when you look at it like this, right? And now you're seeing your big goals and your small goals and what's going to be attainable and what's not, and then what you can price. Now, I like the day rate because we know that it's going to be around 177, right? Or 167, one of the two, right? I'm going to say 177 because I like that number. So I know daily, if I make a sale a day on a course that is at 177, I'm more likely to hit that, right? So that's why you want to know what your daily rate is to keep your business afloat. So you understand how to price certain things within your business, but you also have to consider market value, my friend. Okay. And when it comes to online courses, there's what, $5,000 courses? And there's lower, and there's $27 course, $7 courses, $1 courses, I believe people are making as well. And so you have to like, what type of brand are you building? Who is your clientele? Where are they at? What are they wanting? And where do they invest in? Where is their mindset? What are their concerns? And this is where market research comes into play. You understand that. Now you understand where your budget is. You understand how much, when you want people to invest in your products or in services, right? You can have a client a week, or you can have one client a month, right? But you have to have the packages to take in consideration to achieve those monetary goals. All right. Step 2, the realistic timeline. So, and that's where it comes with the timelines, right? Like realistically, how much work do you need to put into your business to make the goal of having 5K months, right? What is the foundation that you need to build? What is that marketing strategy? And understanding the seasons, right? Check it out. A lot of times, you know, the biggest sales for gyms is January, right? That's the season, right? Real estate slows down during that time, and picks up in the spring and summer months. You see that? There's ebbs and flows in business, and there's going to be an ebb and flow within your industry, within the people that you're reaching, because there's certain aspects to it. Now, when it comes to an online business and you want to, facilitate some of that extra income with courses and memberships, I want you to consider the fall season. Fall seasons and summer season too. And people say something, oh, business slows down. I haven't really experienced that. I find that a lot of people are willing to invest in the springs and summer months and fall. Maybe January, February, things are slowing down in within my business, but then it picks up again within, spring. And so this is where you know how to use your marketing strategy. So there's a marketing strategy that now I understand. This is the wish I knew. Now I understand when I have a low season that maybe business has slowed down a bit, I can start putting together a marketing strategy such as a challenge. How to launch a challenge, which helps you launch a challenge within your industry to help bring in sales and clients. When do you want to pull this one out? You want to pull this out when you have a low season. But of course, you want to have a good running board, right? A good, like, what is it? Runway. Yes, running board. What was that? Runway. You want to have a good runway. So the next thing that you want to do, aside from having this sheet of paper, I like to do it in Trello, and I like to look at kind of like April, excuse me, like January, February, March, April, May. I like to look at it in quarters, right? And then I like to build out a marketing strategy within that quarter, and what feels good to me in my busyness of life. And when the kids are in school, when the kids are not in school, and things like that. And then you can kind of like assess, if you break it down into your quarters, like January, February, March is a quarter, March, April, May, June, another quarter, right? That's quarter two. And right now, that's where we're at, right? And then we're about to hit quarter three and quarter four, right? So when you break it down into quarters, you understand kind of like what is a slow quarter for you and what is a bigger quarter. So then you also understand what you need to have in your reserves and what you do have extra for, right? And how can you hire the right people to help you get into those higher places, and when to hire people, because maybe you have, maybe hiring someone in the lower period might be more feasible. And if you calculate your funds, because you know that that investment won't be a weight if you hire that person when you have a higher season, or you can hire in the higher season because shoot, you don't roll like you're a rebel, right? And you want to keep on going, full on full steam. But anyways, full steam ahead, right? Full steam ahead. But regardless, now you can actually have a bit of a strategy. And this is a wish I knew. That thing like happened to me, like took me a long time to learn that. I think one of the hardest things is like, where do you invest to gain information that can really help you build out a sustainable business, right? I think that's kind of like hard in this day and age. Like, I know for me, I've actually switched my strategy and actually deciding when I do make an investment, like making a wise investment on what type of life skill I would like to take into my business and build that out. And so I'm looking in kind of like, okay, what is it that I don't know much about in an area within my business that I want to build out and make those investments there. Okay, like I said, like for Monetizing Mompreneur Society, right? It's about having the tools to help you create those funnels and help you grow your business a bit faster. Like we're moms, like what if we have all this and then we don't really know how to market, or we don't have the time to be on social media that much, right? That's what the society will help you, seriously. I think the society is amazing and it's going to even get better. So if you haven't gone in, I behooved you in this moment in time to get in while we have a 30-day free trial.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have a chance, stop by the website at lindamendable.com and join us over at Monetizing Mompreneurs Facebook group. I just want to say again, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.